Hello everyone, and welcome to my GMA24 Update official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Holyrood's finance secretary has stated that the Scottish government has invested as much money as we can in an effort to prevent council employees from going on strike. Although it was disappointing, according to Shona Robeson, that Unison, the biggest local government union in Scotland, had voted against the most recent wage contract, the council body COSLA should handle the matter. Her remarks followed an 86% vote by Unison members to reject an offer that would have provided employees a 3.6% wage raise or an hourly pay increase of 67p, whichever was higher. According to that vote, non-teaching staff in some schools may take action, which could result in school closures, while garbage and recycling workers in other places may go on strike. The Scottish government has been doing everything we can to avoid disruptive strike action. According to Ms. Robeson, the Scottish government and COSLA would continue to work with the unions to make sure we can avoid costly industrial action where we can, she said, emphasizing that the offer was a fair offer that was higher than the rate of inflation that had been provided to council workers. However, she went on to say, what is crucial right now is that the local government and the employer keep talking to Unison to see if that expensive industrial action can be avoided. COSLA are, of course, the representative body for local government, which are the employers in this situation, stated Ms. Robeson. As a government, we have been able to support the funding envelope that COSLA has been able to supply. Other unions clearly think it is a fair offer, she continued, adding that GMB trade union members have already accepted the proposal. The finance secretary made these remarks after pointing to the need to finance pay arrangements for the public sector as one of the reasons the Scottish government was considering cutting £500 million from this year's budget. Ms. Robeson informed MSPs that the Scottish government is anticipated to incur an extra £800 million in expenses as a result of the Bill for Pay Accords. The Scottish government is utilising up to £460 million in leftover funds from the ScotWind scheme, which saw portions of the Scottish seabed leased out for offshore wind projects, in addition to making savings elsewhere to help pay for that DMS. Robeson stated that the Scottish Fiscal Commission had verified that £460 million was, as yet, unallocated, but she would only spend the entire amount if the UK government did not supply further funding for public sector salaries. The key question, she said, is how much of the UK pay review body's pay accords are paid by the UK government. I will need to use less of the ScotWind if more of it is funded. I will need to use more of the ScotWind if less of it is funded. We will therefore have to wait and see where we end up. Depending on how much of the compensation settlements are backed by UK government cash, I don't want to use the entire £460 million that I stated yesterday, the finance secretary went on. I can take out less of that money, and I want to take out less of that money if more is supported. To try to avoid what is costly industrial action, we have put as much money as we can into these envelopes, the finance secretary said on BBC Radio Scotland's Good Morning Scotland show. Finance Secretary Shona Robeson said the Scottish government had invested a lot of money to try to prevent council employees from going on strike. Although Unison's rejection of a new pay contract was disappointing, she stressed that COSLA, Scotland's umbrella organisation for local government employers, is ultimately responsible for finding a solution. Robeson's remarks came after the proposed pay offer was rejected by 86% of Unison members, the largest local government union in Scotland. Council employees would have received a 3.6% pay raise or an increase of 67p per hour, whichever was higher, under the rejected plan. There are now worries that industrial action may be imminent as a result of this development. Waste and recycling workers may strike in some places, and non-teaching employees may go on strike in schools, which could lead to short-term closures. However, Robison stated that the Scottish government is still working to stop these disruptive strikes. "We have been making every effort to stop this industrial action. We hope that all parties will find a solution because we don't want this situation," Robison said. She maintained that the salary offered to employees of the local government was reasonable and higher than the rate of inflation at the time. Recognizing that strikes would have a significant negative impact on local communities and public services, she underlined that the Scottish government and COSLA will continue to work with the unions to attempt to avert expensive industrial action. While Unison's rejection of the offer is disappointing, it is crucial that the local government, acting as the employer, keeps working with the unions, including Unison, to find a solution and prevent strike action, she continued. According to Robison, COSLA is in charge of negotiating with unions on behalf of local government employers. She clarified that the Scottish government had contributed to the financing envelope that COSLA has been using, so playing a supporting role. She added that even while GMB, another significant trade union, had approved the settlement, it was evident that certain unions still did not think it was enough. The Scottish government has been struggling with the financial weight of public sector pay accords, which are predicted to cost an extra £800 million this year, Robison disclosed in her remarks to the Scottish Parliament. She clarified that the government would have to make budget concessions in other areas due to these growing expenses, which would total about £500 million in cuts across a range of public sectors. In order to balance the books and free up more money for pay settlements, these cuts were required. The budget of the Scottish government has been under tremendous strain to pay for these wage settlements. Robison pointed out that up to £460 million from the ScotWind programme, which generated money by leasing portions of Scotland's seabed for offshore wind projects, might be used to help offset some of the costs. She clarified that this money had not yet been distributed and could only be used for public sector compensation in extreme circumstances. The ScotWind project has made £460 million accessible to us. This money hasn't been set aside yet, but if the UK government doesn't contribute. The real crux of the issue lies in how much of the pay review body's settlement is funded by the UK government, Robison added, underscoring the uncertainty that still surrounded the negotiations with the UK government. "We will need to use less of the ScotWind plan the more they contribute. We will need to use that fund more frequently if they contribute less. We'll have to wait and see where we end up." The intricacy of the position was further highlighted by the Finance Secretary's comments, as the Scottish government must strike a balance between its fiscal obligations and the need to prevent industrial disruption. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, so please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and don't miss any updates.